U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff will be holding talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow on terms of a revised peace plan to end the war in Ukraine. Washington says it is optimistic following weekend meetings with Ukrainian officials. But Kyiv and its European allies taking a much more cautious line, maintaining much more has to be worked out given the wide differences on red lines for all sides. Mr. Witkoff will be presenting a refined version of the original U.S. drafted 28-point peace plan when he meets Vladimir Putin. Covering the story for CNA is Dasha Chernyshova reporting live from Moscow. Dasha, can we expect anything to come out of these talks?
Well, it all depends on what the sides will be compromising on. And obviously, Russia says it is hoping and it is interested in finding a diplomatic settlement to this conflict in Ukraine. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov has confirmed that in the negotiations in the Russian capital, Steve Witkoff, U.S. envoy, will be joined by U.S. President Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. And many analysts here are saying that shows that this is not just a political deal. It is also a business project that has been worked out by the sides throughout those rounds of negotiations. So Moscow would certainly be looking to see what sort of redefinitions have been made to that U.S. drafted peace plan. Moscow is also saying that it welcomes U.S. efforts in finding a negotiated settlement to this conflict in Ukraine. But Moscow says it wants the settlement for the generations to come. This is the phrase we are hearing repeatedly from the Russian authorities, an allusion to the very fact that this crisis and this conflict has erupted in the first place because of widespread differences that have existed between Moscow and NATO. So certainly it remains to be seen whether the sides will be able to make sure that this deal represents Russia's red lines and that they are not crossed.
Oh, Dasha, as you say, these are red lines. There are long-standing differences between Russia and Ukraine and some of Ukraine's European allies. If Russia should agree to any kind of negotiated solution, it would mean Russia feeling some pressure to make some compromises on that solution. We're looking at close to 4 years of that war in Ukraine. Is there pressure enough from Russia to make any changes, any concessions, and where would that come from?
Well, so far we have not been hearing about Moscow making any concessions. Russia has not been publicly negotiating or revealing its position on this U.S.-devised draft for the Ukrainian settlement. And interestingly, we've seen the Russian president traveling to the front lines just ahead of this visit by U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff to the Russian capital. Putin has been at the front lines at one of the advanced command posts where he was wearing military uniform, already a sign and a very important message. And also he was briefed about a major gain by the Russian military. The city of Pokrovsk in the Donetsk People's Republic has now come under the control of the Russian military. Many analysts say that this is a very strong negotiating position that Moscow is coming to these negotiations. And also the Kremlin has been insisting that the more Ukraine drags with the negotiations and the final settlement of this conflict, the more territory it loses. But on the other side of the scales, you would certainly see Russia being under the pressure of international sanctions. And also many political analysts are pointing to the fact that it's unclear whether Moscow will be presented with an opportunity of a deal anytime soon if this push for the diplomatic solution is missed.
Oh, thanks. Dasha Chernyshova there covering the story live from Moscow for CNA. Of course, Steve Witkoff and Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, will be meeting Vladimir Putin later today in Moscow.